On August 15, 1977, a radio telescope in Ohio picked up a signal so strange that a scientist circled it in red pen and wrote one word in the margin: wow. That red circle, that single word, it's still there, printed in the original observation log, and it's haunted the world of astronomy for nearly 50 years. But here's what most people get wrong about the WOW signal. They think it was proof of alien contact. It wasn't. What it actually was far more unsettling. Evidence of something we couldn't explain, couldn't replicate, and still can't. Let's start with what happened that night. The Big Ear radio telescope, a massive fixed reflector at Ohio State University, was scanning the sky at 1,420 megahertz, the frequency where hydrogen atoms emit radio waves. It's the universal language of the cosmos, the kind of frequency scientists believe an advanced civilization might use to say hello. At 11:16 p.m., the signal arrived. For exactly 72 seconds, the telescope detected something. A narrowband radio emission, 30 times stronger than background radiation. It came from the Chi Sagittarii star group about 220 light-years away. Then just like that, it vanished, never to be heard from again. The observer that night was a volunteer named Jerry Amon. He was reviewing the computer printout when he spotted the anomaly. His reaction wasn't one of triumph, it was confusion. He knew what normal looked like. This wasn't it, so what did he do? He did exactly what science demands. He wrote that one word, wow, circled the data, and filed the report. He didn't claim aliens, he didn't go to the press. He documented what he'd found and flagged it for follow-up. This is the part nobody remembers. This is also the part that matters most. Because here's the thing about the WOW signal that separates fact from folklore. They looked for it again. The Big Ear scanned that same patch of sky night after night. Nothing. Other observatories aimed their instruments at Chi Sagittarii. Silence. If it was a civilization trying to reach us, they tried once and never again. So what was it really? That's where the mystery deepens, and this is where skeptics and believers start to split. The leading hypothesis today isn't aliens. It's something far more ordinary and far more frustrating: a reflected signal. Maybe a satellite bouncing radio waves off the upper atmosphere. Maybe a terrestrial source we've simply forgotten about. But here's the catch: that explanation doesn't hold up perfectly either. The signal had properties that made terrestrial origins difficult to pin down. It was too narrowband, too clean, too intentional looking, which brings us back to square one, doesn't it? In 2020, astrophysicist Antonio Paris published a paper proposing a different answer. A comet, two comets actually, passing near that region of space. Comets emit hydrogen. Hydrogen emits at 1,420 megahertz. The timing, he argued, aligned perfectly. Most of the scientific community wasn't convinced, but it wasn't impossible either. And that's where we stand now, decades later, with better telescopes, with more data, with more knowledge about the cosmos than Amon could have imagined, and yet we still don't have a definitive answer. What would you do with that? How do you close a file that might never close? The WOW signal teaches us something crucial about how science actually works. It's not a series of certainties. It's a process of elimination, of ruling out the obvious, of sitting with uncertainty while you search for better answers. Amon's WOW wasn't a conclusion, it was an invitation. What makes this case different from so many unexplained phenomena is that it's verifiable. The data exists, the observation log exists, you can see Amon's handwriting, you can review the signal's strength, you can scrutinize every competing theory. This isn't a blurry photo, this isn't hearsay, this is documented science. Yet even with all that evidence in hand, we can't definitively say what caused those 72 seconds of radio noise, and that bothers people. It should. Because in a world obsessed with answers, the WOW signal is a stubborn reminder that some questions take decades to resolve, or longer, or never. The alien hypothesis persists though, and you can understand why. A signal from deep space, never repeated, never explained, arriving at the exact frequency reserved for cosmic conversation. It's the kind of story that lodges itself in human imagination. It feels like first contact, even if the evidence doesn't quite support it. But the real story is more interesting. It's about a scientist who saw something strange and reported it honestly. It's about decades of follow-up investigation that turned up nothing. It's about multiple competing theories, none of them perfect. It's about how science actually lives in the gray space between proven and disproven. So here's what we know for certain. On August 15, 1977, something real happened. It was detected, it was documented, it was investigated. And 47 years later, the most honest answer we can give is still, we don't know. That's not a failure of science. That's science working exactly as it should. The WOW signal remains one of the most compelling unexplained phenomena in astronomy. Not because it proves we're not alone, not because it's definitely aliens, but because it's real, it's documented, and it refuses to be neatly explained away. It's a mystery that earns its mystery, and there are still people searching for answers, still looking at that same patch of sky, still hoping to hear that signal again. If you want to follow the next unexplained case that refuses to stay solved, subscribe. Every week we examine another mystery, evidence by evidence, and show you exactly where the facts end and the speculation begins. Subscribe so you don't miss the next unexplained case we take apart, one piece of evidence at a time.